Kendra and I are the leaders of this breakout session, and we're both at IF. And so I will turn it over to Kendra to begin first with introducing herself.
Thank you. I'm Kendra. Pronouns are they and she. Program Associate with IF, a Foundation for Radical Possibility. And thank you all for being here and in our breakout room with us.
And I am Lisa Young. You just heard from me. I am the Creative Communications Manager at IF. Kendra, I'll turn it over to you for the language justice reminder.
And so I think everyone here we came in to make sure that everyone knows this will be a space that is interpreted. There will be Spanish and English spoken in this space, and just a few reminders to talk one at a time and to allow for a pause once the question is asked, just to allow the comment to be interpreted, and then speak at a moderate pace. And that's it. And I don't know if anyone had joined, but just to make sure people go to the bottom of the screen at the globe and choose the language that you are most comfortable with hearing and understanding. Then I will turn it back over to you, Lisa, I believe.
Okay, so we've already covered the definition in the main breakout room, which is healing justice is a framework that identifies how we can holistically respond to and intervene on generational trauma and violence and bring collective practices that can impact and transform the consequences of oppression on our bodies, hearts, and minds. And as it relates to healing justice, we believe that there are necessary steps and strategies that have to be incorporated and also attended to as it relates to social justice. So one cannot exist without the other. But there is a podcast on healing justice that begins to really go deeply into how do we begin to incorporate it as a praxis into our organization or our foundation, but also into our daily collective lives. How do we begin to think about what does it mean to heal throughout the trauma that we may be witnessing or the trauma we may be experiencing? And so Kendra will talk a little bit more about how IF as a foundation has begun that practice of beginning to really think about healing justice and incorporating it into all that we do. And so Kendra, I turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I'll just give a brief overview of what we've done. And so our healing justice journey really started with our healing justice associate, Nia, who's no longer with us, but she really introduced the words to us and the ideas. And that was in about 2019, I think. And so we began this work internally by engaging in theory and practice. And so our staff is majority Black people and people of color. And so we had this experience of the impact of oppression in our bodies as we do this work. And so it was really important of how we internalize this to make sure that we are healing ourselves, as well as how does that get out to other community members that we're engaging with, and also all of the different communities that we engage with. Okay. And so just to talk about how we operationalized it. So we started by working to deepen the relationship between the board and staff. And we did this through storytelling exercises. For internal practices within the staff, we've instituted this zone of genius in our work plans, where just basically employees break down their responsibilities and time spent at work in order to ensure that they spend most of the time as possible doing tasks that they enjoy or give them energy. And then we have, which is something we started this year, is the summer weeks off for rest, a mid-year organizational pause devoted to rest, reading, relationship building, and reflection. And again, this year, we really started implementing these things and learning from it. And we know this is the iterative process. And we hope to keep along this journey and continue to deepen how we practice this within. And so just to talk externally, what we've done And really what the external has looked like is, so as we plan to deepen our knowledge of healing justice, we wanted the community members with whom we are building relationships to also join us in this learning. And so last year we hosted the Healing Justice Digital Learning Lab series, where we had DC area healing justice practitioners explore forms of healing that we can adapt in our communities and our foundation. And so within those series, last year we talked about creating safety without relying on the state, cultural organizing, the use of herbs and gardening to heal ourselves and others. And this year, the series focused on learning from local community-based organizations that are operationalizing healing justice. And so just wanted to share these beautiful things that we created last year. We haven't shared them, but we commissioned an artist to, a graphic recording artist to document the series last year. And so I'm excited to share 3 of the graphics that we created. And I see that some of our panelists have not been able to join, but each of the panelists that were supposed to talk are, and I do see that one of them is here, that one of the panelists that is in the graphics that I'll be sharing, and the graphics are in English and Spanish. And so I guess I'll share, I'm just gonna drop the link in the chat. And the first graphic is where we learned about community safety. And so the community safety, we had Kendra Allen of Collective Action for Safe Spaces, which is DC-based organization, share strategies about how we can all create safety within our communities through bystander intervention. That was the specific strategy that we were talking about during this this session, but really going over like what does safety look like, how we can build it without relying on the state. And so within that, you can see the different comments that came out of that. Next, I'll talk about the Seeds of Resistance, where we had Violet King from Dreaming Out Loud, who hosted this lab and focused on rediscovering the ancestral ways of healing that we have practiced, that we have passed down through generations, like all of us within our different cultures, especially through the use of plant medicine. And so we talked about thyme and how it's good for colds and lung health, and St. John's wort, which could be used for depression. And these were things that the participants brought up, things that they have seen like their mothers use or grandmothers use. And this is really important because this was the first year of COVID, and it's really about how we can practice healing ourselves when other methods might not be accessible because of all the things that was happening. And the last one I will share is about cultural organizing. And this one was hosted by Saida Agostini, who is now the president of Funders for LGBTQ Issues. And she is also the main facilitator within the series this year and last year. And so she talked to us about cultural organizing and how it can be a practice that helps move us towards liberation and how it's connected to healing justice. And so this is just a few of the labs and a few of the different topics that we explored as we are deepening our knowledge of healing justice. I want to introduce our healing justice lab participants that were able to join us today. And it looks like Leslie is here. If you could introduce yourself, just your name, where you live, and the community that you represent or are connected to.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Leslie Moncada. Yo trabajo en la Clínica del Pueblo para la comunidad latina inmigrante. Trabajo todo el tema de violencia basada en género, violencia doméstica, violencia sexual, tráfico humano y matrimonio forzado. todo el idioma en español, por supuesto. Y también en el área de Virginia estoy en una organización que es una organización que le llaman Grassroots Organization. No sé en español cómo decirlo, solo en inglés, que no sé hablar inglés, que se llama Madre Tierra. Y allá también hacemos trabajo de justicia sanadora y de atención a las personas que no pueden, que no tienen documentos y que la podemos apoyar para conectarlas en diferentes organizaciones, como la clínica u otras organizaciones con abogados. Y estoy feliz de estar aquí ahora en IF, que, que es el proceso de sanación, porque mi trabajo ha sido siempre trabajar en grupos de apoyo. Y en mi país, Honduras, yo soy psicóloga y trabajaba como facilitadora de procesos de conciencia corporal y usaba la terapia de Bach, florales de Bach. Entonces, este espacio para mí es súper importante porque me conecta con la visión de la sanación que no tiene que ver con la medicina alópata, sino con las raíces de la comunidad en lo que yo creo. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And you, I'm not sure how much time we have for the questions, but you kind of started answering the first question we have, and it's really what was your experience with healing practices before engaging in the foundation's activities?
Bueno, la experiencia que yo he tenido siempre es las historias que contaba mi abuela con respecto a cómo sanar, y luego a través del feminismo encontré una visión que me conectaba con la medicina holística y la medicina natural. Entonces vi que la psicología no tenía que ser desde la visión médica, sino que desde la visión de esta medicina chamánica, porque yo estuve en algunos países de Latinoamérica donde hay curanderas, sobadoras, parteras, y ellas sanan con hierbas, sanan sobando, sanan contando historias. Entonces, y después también con la educación popular a través del teatro y la danza. Entonces, todo eso me daba una visión a mí diferente de cómo sanar. Entonces, esa experiencia la he traído de alguna manera aquí. Lo que pasa es que en este país uno tiene que estar certificado, pero cuando yo entré a la justicia sanadora, me di cuenta que no era necesario tener un diploma, que yo podía, con lo que ya sabía. Me encontré con otras personas que hacen cosas parecidas a la mía. Entonces me sentí identificada, me sentí contenida, me sentí apoyada y me sentí segura. Y por eso me encanta ser parte de la justicia sanadora.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And the next question is just what was a big takeaway from the labs? And I know you've been participating since last year, but yeah, just your most important takeaway.
Bueno, lo más importante, creo yo, es no sentirme sola, no sentirme aislada y no sentir que estoy haciendo cosas incorrectas. Y los laboratorios me han dado cómo recuperar lo que yo ya sé, pero además aprender, porque hemos estado en laboratorios de herbolaria, hemos estado en laboratorios de cuencos, de tambores, hemos estado con muchas personas tan sabias y espirituales, que eso me ha servido a mí para sanar yo, para no sentirme sola y saber que estoy en una comunidad que me entiende, que no me excluye, aunque yo no hable el idioma, pero me siento que soy parte de esta comunidad y que yo estoy haciendo un trabajo parecido. Entonces, los laboratorios me dan la oportunidad a mí de sentirme segura, de sentirme creativa y de sentir que puedo seguir aprendiendo más cosas y de poder intercambiar con otras personas de otra cultura. Me ayuda a entender esta parte de la cultura de este país, sobre todo la afroamericana que yo no conocía, y a veces uno se pone con miedo pensando que somos diferentes, pero al final lo más importante es que cuando estamos en la justicia sanadora podemos conectar desde el corazón. Entonces eso me ha dado a mí mucha creatividad y ganas de seguir en este proceso de autocuidado y de aprendizaje.
Thank you. Yes, getting a notice that the breakouts are ending, but thank you so much, Leslie. I know we didn't have time for a Q&A and also to hear more from Leslie, but want to see if there were questions you can submit by Twitter or also email or chat if you have any questions.